everybody. Welcome to my video. Welcome back to my terrible videos. Now, today we're gonna rate Nintendo from worst to the best, in our opinion. Now, we have separate opinions. And do you have anything to add before I start?
Just to be clear, we're only doing the main controller for each console. There's no...
Nintendo console.
Yes, but I'm saying we're not doing Pro controllers or Hori controllers or anything crazy. Just the main controller that was boxed in with the console.
No dog bone. So, my least favorite goes to...
Number 8, by the way. There's 8.
8. Yes. The Switch. These are so uncomfortable. They need to work on these to make them more comfortable. Too flat, like the Earth. And just, when you do 2-player, you have these little dinky things. And for Mario Kart, these suck. So that's my opinion on number 8.
My number 8, the Virtual Boy. Now, in this controller's defense, there are some really good things about this going on. First of all, it's the first controller to have actual handles on it, and it's very comfortable. And to be honest, I actually don't really know how this controls because I can't find a goddamn Virtual Boy that works to test it on. But it seems like the button placement is just kind of awkward, and the 2 D-pads thing is weird. This console had some potential, but it was just kind of a mess.
Okay, are we ready for number 7? It goes to the Wii U, because the Wii U always needs a Wii controller. It's dependent, like children. Yeah, number 7 for you.
Nintendo 64. You know, I have a lot of nostalgia for the N64, as this was the newest game console Nintendo made that, at the time I was born. It worked very well for certain games, like Super Mario 64, and it was really the first 3D controller ever made, and it was good for that, but there was nowhere to go from there. The 3-prong design is very goofy and bizarre. It's begging to have a second control stick. Yeah, it's not the worst, but it could be improved vastly, and it was when they made other controllers after it.
Poor you. Anyway, number 6. He's annoying. Anyway, goes to the Wii, because when it came out, I really couldn't pick a number 6. It was between number 5 and number 6. I hated this thing. I didn't understand it. I never wanted the Wii. I hated the Wii. But then I got a Wii 2 years later and fell in love with it. That kind of sounds like a GameCube, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The dumb chuck, I call it. Hate this thing. But, you know, it came with the Wii, so that's why I consider them both the same controller. Number 6 for you?
My number 6 is also the Wii Remote, wouldn't you know it? I actually really like this controller. I think it's insanely comfortable, and it's versatile too, because you can play with so many different ways, which is really cool. But motion control in it, originally, this is the Wii Remote Plus, so it was improved later, but originally the motion control was not great. And it's overutilized. It's used in a lot of games it has no business being in. It's great for games like Mario Galaxy and Wii Sports, but then there's like Zelda games where you gotta swing it around, and it could just be a simple use of the A button, and it would be way better.
Where can you figure out that's the plus?
It says Wii Motion Plus inside. So you know those little attachments that came with Wii Sports Resort? That means it's got one of those built into it.
Oh, okay.
Whereas, you know, I got the Wii when these weren't invented yet, so I have the regular Wii Remote.
It was like 2 years before the red one came out?
Yeah. So, again, like the N64, it's not terrible, but it's just awkward.
Like my mom.
Number 5.
I'm gonna get a lot of hate, but I don't care. The Super Nintendo controller. Why? Like, It's flat, but it's also comfortable at the same time because, you know, kind of the dog bone shape. I have no luck finding one that's not faulty. Even the Super Famicom ones, not faulty. By the way, we're not doing Japanese ones either. But the Japanese ones are always faulty. I can't find a perfect one. So, and that's probably why, I mean, I need to get spray for it. Maybe that will help, but yeah. And I just really don't like the Super Nintendo in general. Number 5 for you.
My number 5, the NES controller. Now, I know that this is such an iconic controller, but it's not the greatest. It works very well, it's very simple, but it was the first of its kind. It's very boxy, it's not the most comfortable after long hours, the control pad is a little awkward, the start and select buttons are rubber, which I hate. It's a fantastic controller. I'm not dogging on it. It's a fantastic controller. It's one of the best controllers ever made. But it's not the best controller ever made. There are better controllers than this. That's just a fact. Yeah. It was the first of its kind, though, so, you know, it was a fantastic first try.
I think it's time for an honorable mention that isn't Nintendo. My favorite that isn't Nintendo is the Xbox 360 controller. I meant to bring it with me, but I left it at home. Very, very comfortable, and it's the best, what is it called? Non-wired, wireless controller ever made. What's yours?
My favorite non-Nintendo controller is also the Xbox 360 controller. It's for playing like first-person shooter games, it's perfect. I mean, the control pad on it is the only negative thing I'd have about it. That thing really sucks. But you know, the battery life was pretty good on it. There's wired versions for people like me who don't like to use batteries. It's durable too. It's a hefty controller. You can throw that thing across the room and it'll still work just fine.
Xbox does make good controllers that'll last.
Yeah.
Even if you drop it thousands of times, it works.
Even that stupid Duke controller is pretty durable.
And PlayStation never changes. Anyway, number 5, right? Or 4? 4. Another one that I'm going to get hate for. I love the N64 controller because it's nostalgia. It's comfortable. You can play it any way you want. I don't do this stupid thing that people do in Seattle, but, you know who I'm referencing. It's just really comfortable. I don't know if you agree with the comfort thing, but one negative thing is, you know, you have to go back and forth from this. At least I do. And, you know, holding it like that through the game, you know, that hurts after a while. But just don't play Mario Party with it.
My number 4, and this surprises even myself, the Joy-Cons. I like the Joy-Cons. They're not perfect controllers by any means. They're way too small. I mean, this is... But the great thing about them is that they're so versatile. They can be used in so many different ways. The control pad sucks. That is my biggest complaint about them. But, like, you can use them as their own controller. You can use them as, like, Wii remotes. These are great.
No. Number 3? Because it's so easy to use the NES controller. You know, you can learn it just as easy. And it's kind of comfortable. I do like the box feel. I think the Switch Joy-Cons would have been a little bit better if they were more boxy, but I never had the, you know, NES Joy-Cons yet. Yeah. Maybe I would like those better. So, number 2?
No, I haven't said my number 3.
Oh, sorry. I got distracted. What?
The Wii U gamepad.
Oh my god.
When I first saw this thing in the commercials for it, when it was first announced at E3, whatever, 2011 I want to say that was, I was like, I didn't get it. I thought this was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Because it is.
I mean, I didn't... Well, okay, so I liked the screen idea, but I thought that this was good as like an attachment for the Wii that would be good for a couple of games. But I was actually really surprised. It's not nearly as heavy as it looks. It's molded just right for your hands. It's actually more comfortable to hold than the Switch in a lot of ways.
Yes, I'll give it that.
I didn't think I'd be a fan of the control sticks at the top thing, but I do like that a lot. The triggers are fantastic. All of the buttons are really, really good. The control pad's okay, but it's an improvement over all the Wii controllers in almost every way. This console as a whole was a mess, but this controller, pretty solid.
So now we're number 2.
Yeah.
And it goes to the Virtual Boy. Because when I had my first Virtual Boy, when it worked for 3 hours, maybe less, before the eyepieces went out. It still works, it's just I need to fix the eyepieces. This was really easy to use. It's very comfortable. It's just, the one thing it's lacking is a joystick, really. And maybe X and Y buttons, but you really can't see the select and start compared to what you're usually, used to, which is the Super Nintendo and the NES at the time. So this, I would understand why somebody would think this is a piece of shit, but I like it. When is the Switch going to have a port of all Virtual Boy games? That will be amazing. But don't make it black and red, like the colors I was wearing today.
My number 2.
I'm gonna smash
This is a tough one. I'm going to go with Super Nintendo. This is the best controller ever made for 2D games. If you were to try and play like a 3D Mario game or something like that, this wouldn't work very well. But the way the buttons are is absolutely perfect. The control pad is perfect. The R and L button's perfect. I love the way that these buttons are curved in and these buttons are curved out, which actually wasn't a thing on the original Japanese release of this controller, which I find interesting. But you can have your thumb on one and hit the other perfectly, which you can on many other controllers, but this one, just something about it, the size of them and the distance apart is just so perfect for it. The only complaints I can maybe think of is, A, the start and select buttons are rubber, which I hate. I hate rubber buttons. They should never make rubber buttons again. And the other complaint is, if you wanted to use like B and A like that, they're a little tiny bit too far apart to do that super comfortably, but you can always angle your thumb like this if you really wanted to. So that's my only complaint there.
And our favorite, we can say at the same time because we saved it. Here, you hold that side. You hold that side.
The
Game
Nintendo GameCube controller.
The best looking one too, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty looking, but it's also just great.
I mean, this is my favorite part. Well, I grew up with the GameCube. I always played the GameCube, but listen to that. Oh, yeah. That's a gamer's orgasm.
There's a reason why this controller is still being used and still being made to this day, even though it came out 18 years ago. This controller came out, and it's still being used today. It's, first of all, considering it succeeded the N64 controller, is insane, because this thumbstick is a complete improvement over it. And it's still, to this day, in my opinion, the best control stick ever made. The C-stick, while not great, it works okay. These trigger buttons, oh my god.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Not only do they feel fantastic, but they're analog. So like in Mario Sunshine, if you don't push it all the way down, this like controls how much water squirts out. That's great. The buttons feel really interesting. Like, you don't have to look at the controller to know what button you're pressing, because they all feel different. The layout is a little goofy if you were to play like a 2D game. So this game, and the control pad sucks. So this thing isn't very good for 2D games. That's my only complaint, is that it's not very good for 2D games. But it doesn't need to be, because it was designed for a console that had no 2D games on it.
Yeah. It's just, let me say something. It's so comfortable. I don't know, I think this is still a little bit more comfortable than the 360 for sure.
It looks too small for me, because I have these big monster hands. Well, not monster hands, but for a guy my size, I have big hands. And are we?
Go ahead.
It's surprisingly comfortable to hold with big hands. You know?
Mm-hmm. What?
So, yeah.
There needs to be a national holiday where we just celebrate the GameCube. I mean, not necessarily the GameCube, but the controller. National holiday. Let's make one up. March 27th is National GameCube Controller Day. That is when you take your GameCube controller. Doesn't matter if it's the Switch, the one that came out with the Switch, or the OG one. They're pretty similar. And don't take your knockoffs out. No, don't celebrate them. Celebrate this one. Take them out. Take pictures with them. Put them in a baby swing and swing them lightly, or else they're going to fall. Go down the slide with them. Just appreciate them, okay? Okay. Anything else you would like to say?
That pretty much describes my opinions exactly. I mean, honestly, if Nintendo were to ever just stop with the Switch and just come out with another console and use any previous controller, it would be the GameCube controller. I hope they never stop making this thing. I hope every console they make after the Switch continues to support it.
Don't stop making this. Please listen to us, Nintendo.
And when they keep making them, make them like these ones are. This is actually not an original GameCube controller. This is one from the
Switch era.
But I've seen a video from a channel called Spawnwave where a guy took apart a new one and an old one next to each other, and this is as close to the original as it could possibly be. And I hope that they continue to strive for that quality and don't go cheap on us like the PlayStation Classic.
Oh, yeah! Get 'em! Is that it? We good?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try to pause for thumbnail here. Okay, that was creepy, but, yeah, that's it. Longest video of my channel. My phone is probably complaining that I should stop. In other news, I'm not in Gryffindor. Bye!